I want to share with you an awakening I've had, that I hope for certain people, the right people, it will be a thing they need to hear. Maybe it'll give them that last little push they need to awaken themselves. Awakening is, it's been taught in many, many forms. Many spiritual practices and whatnot talk about this awakening, waking up, spiritual waking up. And the essence of it is this: there's not that there's no I, but the I, the me that experience, my body, myself, my thoughts, it's not who I am. It's there. It's all there. I'm not saying it's not real. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion, that whole thing. I mean, in a sense, I believe it is an illusion, but it's there. But it's not the I, the part that is aware, that actually experiences. The part that experiences is just awareness. It's just a viewer, an observer. And there's only one experiencer, and that is, they call it God. You know, it's the one consciousness that experiences everything. And it's really pretty amazing and weird to realize that in your body, no matter how humble or simple or small you are, the eyes that are looking out of your eyes are, I'd say, God's eyes, consciousness. It's not something you achieve. It's not something like, oh, I meditated a long time, and now it's God's eyes viewing out of me. Everybody has it, no matter how wretched you are or how many, beer swilling, whatever, it's there for everybody. And the catch is that it's a little tricky. Well, we tend, obviously we tend to identify it. Most of our day-to-day life is we identify with, I'm going to the store, I'm writing this letter, I'm doing whatever I am doing. And when we identify with the person, the I, it's like identifying with a character in a movie. I guess the movie is a really, really good metaphor for it. When we sit in a movie theater, we watch a movie, we see, cops and robbers, we see explosions, we see, whatever it is that we're watching, people getting shot. When the movie's over, nobody's dead. There's no blood on the screen, none of that. It was just the projection or the screen. So our life is the same, all of existence, not just our individual life, but all of existence, you name it, the stars, the galaxies, multi-dimensions, whatever you consider existence to be, which is pretty much everything with nothing left out. So the whole shebang is it's a movie that's playing in front of ourselves, and we're the observer. And who is the we that's observing? Well, it doesn't have any personality. It doesn't have, the personality is what we experience as yourself. Myself is David. I have things I like, things I don't like, things I'm afraid of, whatnot. And when there is actually, I find there is some sort of quality to that observer, that pure untouched consciousness awareness, which is its loving awareness. There's the love there, but it's a different love than we experience as a human being. In a human body, we care, we worry about people, we love them, we romantically love them, and this love, again, this isn't the first. I'm not the first person who said this, so forgive me if it sounds cliche or whatnot, but it's impersonal. It's impersonal compassion. It's compassionate, but it lets all things be. So to get right to the heart of the matter, why would you want to? What does this matter? Well, we all experience suffering in our lives, and the world experiences plenty of suffering. And really, when it comes down to it, if this world is truly, or existence is truly infinite, it embodies everything, nothing left out, then in addition to the most beautiful, blissful, heaven-like things, people, being, experiences, there's also the most horrible, suffering, torturous, horrifying experiences. And as a being, there's only so much we can take. Think of your worst day. Think of the worst thing that's happened. The Holocaust or something, right? Then that's only a little sliver of what's possible. It's infinite, right? So there's a certain point where the suffering gets too much, and it tends to be people that tend to wake up, it's that they've experienced a lot of suffering, serious disease, serious grief, serious loss, and that's an impetus to wake up, because it's too hard to deal with, it's too hard to be with. And the waking up, it's not that it fixes anything. What happens is when you no longer associate with the individual body, the experience of all of creation that's going on and all of existence, when you no longer associate with that, then it's no longer happening to you. You just become the awareness, you become the observer, and the suffering goes away. It still is happening, but you are not the one it's happening to. That's the key. So when you watch a movie, you know, people are getting shot up on the screen. That's a perfect example. Getting shot up with bullets. We all know we're not getting shot with bullets, and we walk out of the theater and we're none the worse for wear. Yet we saw it all happen. You know, you saw the blood, you saw the person screaming and writhing and all that. And of course, the difference between a movie and our life is that we are inside. The experience we have is the consciousness is actually perceiving it from inside a body. So it actually has feelings, and it walks around, and it has, this is an interesting topic, but it has some sort of sense of illusion of making choices and things like that. And I'm not going to really get into the question of I will get into the question of is there a choice. It kind of doesn't matter, because here's why. There's, like I said, existence is everything, nothing left out. Every, what do you call it? Parallel dimension, people will say, like, oh, if I chose to turn left here, one world open up. If I chose to turn right here, this. If I chose to say hi to this person or not, you know, every possible combination and permutation of things. Every version of ourself already exists. Now, it exists as a human being. We experience it in a sort of linear, you know, singular experience. So not singular, but it's, you know, one day at a time. One thing happens. You make one choice. That means you didn't make the other choices. But in the, I don't know if it's a spiritual sense or whatever, in the biggest sense, all those choices exist. And in some way, in some aspect, they're all playing out, being experienced or will be experienced or something like that. And so, so whether you're making choice or not, it's still all there, and that's the important thing. Whichever route that happens to be sort of snaked along by the choices you're making, whether you make it or whether people say, you know, God is making it, or fate is choosing it, doesn't matter. That's not relevant to the question of does suffering exist, will it exist, can you escape suffering? Because as long as you identify with the person, either the choices you make or the unmade choices you make, or all those things, you know, you're the biggest jerk, you're a heroin addict, you're a murderer, you're a creative, wonderful person, you're a intelligent person, you're an enlightened guru. You're all these things simultaneously. We're all of them. And you're everybody else. Really, ultimately, you're not just, you know, I'm not just David. I'm everyone. Because there's no real me. The only real me is this observer that looks like he's looking out of David's eyes right now. But that same observer is looking out it through your eyes and through, you know, President Obama's eyes, through everybody's eyes. And it goes beyond human beings, of course. Every animal, every creature, every entity. That's what all of creation is. So getting to back to the point of why would you want to waken up to the fact that there's no you, not that there's no you. You are not the body that you're in. You're not the experience that you're perceiving outside. You are just the observer, the awareness, is because I don't know exactly how to say how, but it just is how. Just like watching a movie, you don't feel bullet holes go in you. You know, you don't experience these things. The character does, and it's a really interesting thing to recognize and identify with the observer and not the person that's part of manifestation or creation. Not the thing that's playing out, but just the thing that's watching it. And this sounds very theoretical, and it is theoretical on one level, but the experience I had with it was not theoretical. It was experiential. It was tangible. That's what I saw. And I'll get to how that came about in a minute. So a huge, well, there are many hooks that tend to cause us to, if this is what I don't know if the word is trying to do, but if this is the goal, if this is what the intention is to stay in awareness, just the untouched, loving awareness, and not be in the manifesting world life experience. There are a lot of kind of hooks that tend to get us to identify with it, and one of them is having an opinion. Any opinion about something. Awareness doesn't have an opinion. Awareness just watches. The only thing that has an opinion is me, David, you. And let's see, a fear. If I have a fear, who has a fear? Well, a person, a being, a manifestation has a fear. It's an idea, it's an emotion, it's something. It's something other than just pure awareness. What's another thing? Well, any kind of resistance. I don't want that. Who's the I? Anytime you say anything, whenever you hear the word I, that's probably talking about, David. So any kind of resistance is not coming from the awareness. And that's one of the ways to get in touch with awareness is, it's again almost cliche, like the Beatles song, Let It Be. Let everything be. Let sadness be. Let emotions be. Let horrible things be. Let wonderful things be. Never pop yourself into I. Another thing that can hook you is, hey, you did really good. Boy, look how smart I am. Look at how creative I am. Arrogant, ego, whatever you want to call it, even if you're nice about it, the bottom line is it's not that it's so much whether it's good or bad, it's that you're identifying with somebody in the world as opposed to just the awareness that's observing it happen. So it sucks you into the identifying. And as soon as you're sucked into the identifying, if you're identifying with the good you're just as equally going to be identifying with the suffering you, the part of you that experiences physical pain or anguish or whatever kind of suffering that exists. Some people think, well, if I'm not experiencing my feelings, then it doesn't even feel like I'm really being alive. Or if I'm not caring for somebody else, then I don't want to live that way. Well, again, where's the question? Me, David, cares about people, cares about somebody that's suffering or grieving, cares about things in life that people tend to feel are important, and experiences pain, physical pain, emotional pain, sadness, joy, pleasure, all that. I experience it. That's what it is to be a being in a body. But so that doesn't go away at all. In fact, if anything, there's kind of a deepening. But there's a certain level, there's something that happens when you realize, oh, this is just the movie of my life and I'm watching it, and you identify with the observer. It lets you let go of things easier, to let things flow, let them go, take their own course, There's kind of a level of patience, a level of acceptance. I've been finding a level of not caring that much, indifference kind of, and not like, had an emotional charge to it, but like, it just is. It is. Whatever it is, it just is. And as a me and my body, it's every time I check back in with, oh yeah, awareness, don't get hooked, don't get caught into it. There's a freedom that comes. There's a lightness, and there's a quality of love. That awareness, I would think it would be pure neutral awareness. It's just neutral. I mean, that makes sense to me. It's just some viewer, like a camera or something. But it's not. It has a quality of love to it somehow, and that quality is a compassion, indifferent compassion is what I'll call it. Indifferent compassion. It doesn't care what happens. It doesn't care the fact that somebody's suffering, the fact that, those things. It doesn't care in that way, but it just loves all of it for just being what it is, for who it is, for what it is. And there's a certain quality of love that has nothing to do with, is this thing lovable? Is it not lovable? So it can love the most horrific and terrible things. And something about that love that comes from when you identify with that, it starts to radiate. I've been finding it, noticing it in really interesting ways, starting to radiate from myself. And watching, wow, look at the way that person reacted when I just sort of backed off and let them be. I wasn't doing what I thought would be the loving thing, help them, give them a sandwich, do something. It wasn't that. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that, but I was just witnessing them, observing from that perspective, the non-I perspective, and watching it like a movie. And then, people have gravitated. I had a argument the other day that just resolved itself so quickly and easily when I just sort of recognized that, oh, this isn't me. That's just David doing his thing, provoking an argument. It might have been my fault. I think it was. Another big, huge hook for me about awakening up was, or about identifying with the I, was I need to get better. I need to improve. I need to be more holy. I need to be more creative. I need to be a harder worker. I need to, whatever that is, be smarter, be more loving. All of that is I need to be. Any kind of effort, I need to make this happen. The only thing that needs to make something happen is part of the manifestation. The awareness is just letting it be. There's nothing wrong with it how it is. And to that point, I'm sitting here. That was a really big part of it. The awakening has nothing to do with achieving something, becoming so holy, so pure. Oh, I'm a vegetarian, vegan now, and I meditate every day, and whatever these things. Those are all things that people do, beings do. It comes from just, and I don't know where it comes from. Hopefully, I really hope and pray somebody listening to this something will click in them, and that was the one thing I need to hear. The way he said it, the way something gave me that pop, that awakening, and pulled me out of my identification with the world. So there was a catalyst in that process for me, which is ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, if many of you heard of it, many of you haven't. It's a psychedelic medicine used in the Amazon jungle for thousands of years by indigenous shamans. And I was performed in a ceremony this last weekend. It's probably been my 10th or 12th ceremony I've done. And the beautiful thing about, there's so much to be said about this ayahuasca. I can't speak highly enough for it. I always find the experiences very extremely challenging, but beautiful and awakening. And really words can't describe it, so I'm not even going to try to. But I will address one key point that really deepened the clicking of this insight on more of that brought it beyond a theoretical level, and that is somehow the nature of whatever this medicine does. New Age people would say probably it opened my third eye or my crown chakra or something like that, and it opened me up to a world, to an awareness. First of all, that there was not just me that I know myself to be, but all versions of myself. Like I was mentioning earlier, every version of myself exists. And I was like zooming back, those things where they zoom back from something small and then you see the town and then the planet and then the galaxy. It was kind of that kind of experience, but not physical, geographical, but just an awareness of like every possibility of life, every version of myself. And then it was these realms, they're almost like pools of every possible. And that included all other beings, everyone I interact with, everyone in my life, and then the whole world, and then everything. Good days, bad days, the weather, all of it was an illusion that was manifested and experienced. The way I experience it is me, David, walking around one moment at a time. I'm not like transporting myself different places by teleporting or anything like that. I drive a car there, or take a plane, or whatever, walk. But all those. That awareness, it really became very tangibly aware. Oh my goodness, everyone and everything is me, not David, but the awareness, and more. And well, actually, it was a little different than awareness. And this is part of a trick about it was I didn't get the watcher part yet. I just felt like, all that stuff is me, and I'm the consciousness in it all. But what I didn't get, I also got that I was the one experiencing it all. And that got really overwhelming. I didn't like that kind of feeling, that expansion feeling. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger and faster and faster. And there was so much beauty, so much, heavenly, mystical, psychedelic, whatever you call it, levels of beauty. And also so much hell, and everything that you can imagine that's horrible that's happened or ever could happen was becoming I was becoming expandedly aware of it. And there was a point with that where it was just too much. It was too much to experience, and particularly the suffering part. Who doesn't like the bliss? But even the bliss was kind of overwhelming in a sense. And then the something happened in the process where here was the last part of it, and this is very personal to David, me, was I was trying so hard, trying to be a good person, trying to wake up, and actually I was trying to expand my awareness to what I was experiencing. I'd been trying to say, I know, from things I've read and things like that, I know that reality is an illusion and we're all one being, and I want to know myself as that, and I want to somehow expand to that. And I just gave up, and then another part was I didn't want to work anymore. I didn't want to try. I was tired of trying everything. And I finally just let myself, and all the judgment I have about, you're going to be a bum, or the fear of you're going to, lose all your teeth and be homeless and be some wretch, or dependent on other people and be pathetic, all that stuff, I just, screw it, don't care. I just couldn't do it. And I just let myself lay back and just give up. And that was one of the key hooks that was hooking me into my identity of self, of me, was who is it that cares? Who is it that's trying? Who is it that wants to? Well, it was me. It was David. There was an I there. And as soon as I let that go, it freed me up to distance myself and suddenly just become the awareness. And that's when, many things unfolded. I'm not going to try to give you a psychedelic travelogue of everything that happened. There was some cool stuff, though. Higher consciousness entities from some other, I didn't know where they were from, but appeared. Not appeared, they weren't beings, it was a whole realm of consciousness that was just a higher vibration consciousness or something. And I was really excited about that. I was like, oh, at last, the higher beings have come, the, psychedelic Christ or something, the alien, it's Messiah, the alien Messiah is coming to awaken us and deliver us from all the suffering we've had on earth or something. And that's really what my little ego self thought. For a moment, I was like, oh, this is great. But then I realized even that, it's not going to go away. That suffering is still going to be there because it's infinite, and infinite both directions. And maybe by the influence of them, I don't know what that awareness, whatever that thing was, that consciousness. But then, who knows, maybe it was by their grace or whatever, I popped out and I saw, oh, it's just a movie. It's all just a movie. And I saw that the suffering comes only when you're identifying with things in the movie. As soon as you realize you are the watcher of the movie, suffering goes away. Well, time for me to go for now. Hope you enjoyed this little talk. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it.